March Madness is coming to an abrupt end.
Yeah.
And the past few games have been wild.
Frantic.
Especially the catastrophe that happened today.
Oh, boy.
Between my Duke Blue Devils and Michigan State Spartans. And we'll get to that in just a moment.
Oh, yeah.
But welcome to G&T Sports Talk, and I'm Bobby Thompson.
I'm Julian Gallardi. And, yeah, you hit it right in the head. A lot of stuff's happened. It's been a crazy few games. I believe 12 games have been played since we last spoke. 8 in the Sweet 16 and then 4 in the Elite 8. Now we're down to the Final Four. Two of these teams are very, very unexpected. The third is a little bit surprising, but not as surprising as some, I would say. And one of them is what everyone had.
Absolutely.
So we'll just go through the Final Four. We'll backtrack a little bit. But first, we got to say who's in it, obviously. So the biggest news today is that Michigan State beat Duke by 1 point. Duke had been playing with fire for the last 3 games. They won by 1 point against UCF. They beat Virginia Tech by 2. They were a tip-in that barely missed. You saw how UCF barely missed. But then this time, Michigan State, they got it done. They won by a point, another nail-biter. But this time, the Blue Devils were on the wrong side of it. That's the main takeaway of today. Duke has gone down. It was a good season for the Blue Devils. Unfortunately, they didn't get where they wanted to. But Zion and the boys have a lot to be proud of. They played very hard. It was a good year for them. They just didn't get ultimately what they wanted. But let's talk about the teams that did. And Michigan State, got hats off to them. These guys played a great game, wire to wire. At one point, it looks like Duke might run away. In the first half, you guys were up, I believe, 10 almost. Was it 30 to 20 at one point? Is that what it was? I saw 30 to 23. Then Michigan State went on like an 11-0 or something to close the half, 14-0. They just started hitting shots. And Duke went, you guys went like 6 minutes out of the bucket. That was very surprising to me. Because especially with the talent you guys have out there, it's hard to fathom not scoring for that long.
Yeah, and, it's this whole, other than the first round for Duke, it's really been a bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
This tournament, usually everybody, including myself, thought that they would go into this, win by at least double-digit points every game. And that's not been the case. They haven't been playing up to their capability.
Yeah.
They I will tell you this. To the fact that they got to the Elite Eight by the way they played, I'm very impressed by it. It was a good season, but obviously it's a failure if you don't bring home a national championship back to North Carolina. It's a failure. I will say this, one of the bright spots about it was the young guys. Zion, obviously, he's going to leave for the draft. But what a talent this guy is. Today he had
24, brother.
He had 24 points. Barrett had 21. Those were the top 2 scorers.
Of course,
however,
like always for you guys, your best 2.
But like I said, the past 2 games they've been playing with fire. Today they played with fire, and what happened? They got burnt.
Yeah.
So they couldn't stand the heat, and they got out of the kitchen. They're not in the tournament anymore. So my hat goes off to Michigan State. You guys pulled it off. You're in the Final Four. You're a game away from going to from the ship. So, and it's very unfortunate for Duke fans. Obviously, I'm very disappointed. I don't have a voice, and now you know why.
Yankees and Duke, man. The last 2 days have been rough for you.
Yes.
And, yeah, I mean, I feel for you, man.
It's been a rough past 2 days, but you know what? I'm very happy. Duke has a bright future, obviously.
Yeah, you guys will replace them.
So, unfortunately, you know what? It just wasn't meant to be. Let's just put it that way, Jules. Everybody in there, everybody picked Duke. Everybody's bracket is destroyed.
Yeah, we'll go through that in a second, but I want to hit on Michigan State a little bit.
Go ahead, please.
Cassius Winston was outstanding today. He was the MVP for Michigan State, 20 points and 10 assists. He was the floor general. He did everything out there. He was the glue that held them together. Also, Tillman had 19 and 9. That was a very big part of the game as well. And I want to go down the last stretch a little bit. I'm trying to break down exactly how this ended. So, you guys, all right, let's just go through this last minute because that's what the people want. So, it was 65-66 at that point. Michigan State was up. There was a 2-point play by Tillman, who I said has 19. Then there was a 3-pointer. Wait, hold up. Tillman, this is like... Oh, no, that put Michigan State down 1. Okay, so, right, you guys had 66. All right, let's retrack here. So, you guys had 66 after RJ made that 3-pointer. He gave you guys 66. Tillman scored to make them down 1. And at that point, RJ missed a shot, a 2-point shot down the stretch, and then they got the rebound. They called a timeout, and then Kenny going to the biggest three of the tournament, and he put the team up 2. Then RJ took another 3-pointer that you guys got the board. They reviewed it. They saw that you guys held it, and then RJ went in again. He got fouled by Tillman, but unfortunately he missed the first foul shot. And I had a bad feeling that he was going to miss one because his percentage is not that good, really. Like, under 70 in a tight spot, it's hard to see someone make 2 in that situation. He just wasn't a great free throw shooter, unfortunately. So he missed that one. And this next play was weird because I was told my dad, I'm like, he should probably try to miss this and just let Zion get the offensive maybe, or try to just outman everyone like he's been doing this whole tournament. And I think he tried to, but it trickled in, actually. I think he made it on accident. So he couldn't make it when he needed to, and then when he was trying to miss it, he made it. So a tough stretch for RJ. And then they couldn't get the ball back, and Cassius Winston ran it out the clock, and that was it. And Duke was stunningly defeated by Michigan State.
And you know what? I'm going to tell you this. My hat goes off to Tom Izzo for his plan that they had against Duke. And
yeah, he did a great job.
He's a very good coach. I'm very high on him.
Yeah, he's one of the best guys out there. I'm behind your guy.
I will tell you this. This morning they had on E60, they had a thing about Mike Krzyzewski, and he said one thing he was taught is about every chocolate chip in a cookie counts, and that's how he brings it to the basketball court. And today, all the chocolate chips to the whole cookie just didn't work out. It just
man.
You know what? We lost by a point, but you know what? Listen, it doesn't matter. We could have been much better.
Yeah,
this tournament, we just didn't play up to our expectations.
Yeah, I think there was the thing was, like, to me, it's like you were just, like, relying too much on those two dudes. I mean, Dave Laura actually played a great game for you guys, too. He was 5 for 5 from the field. He hit every shot, pulled down 11 rebounds. Cam Reddish, unfortunately, who I'm not a fan of, and I've told a lot of people this, I really don't think he's that good, and I'll stand by that. He had 8 points. He was 2 for 8, 2 for 6 from the field. He's playing 37 minutes. He's got to be better than that.
Yeah.
He missed a couple shots, and if he makes one
2 turnovers, too.
Yep, that as well. And RJ had 7 also.
7 turnovers. You got to be kidding me.
But he did pull down 6 boards and 6 assists, so he played well, but unfortunately the crunch time plays weren't there for him, as we already said. But yeah, I just don't think Cam's really that special, honestly. I think it's a weak class, and he's being pushed to the top of it because of that.
Yeah.
Because once you get out of RJ, well, Zion's top, which someone tried to tell me RJ's better. To me, that's ridiculous, but I'll talk about that another time more. So Zion, I put Ja Morant ahead of RJ too, actually. So I think RJ's 3rd and Ja's 2nd. But once you get outside the top 3, it's very sketchy, for lack of a better term. Like, you don't know exactly what it's going to end up being.
Absolutely.
I think Culver from Texas Tech has played his way into the conversation. He's a very good player, and we're going to see a lot of him this weekend. Who else do you like?
Know who I'm extremely high on?
Well, also Carson Edwards. We'll get to him as well.
I was just going to say, this kid, that last night, the performance...
All right, let's talk about Carson Edwards. He's earned it as well. So... Purdue had a crazy weekend. Oh man, what a Jekyll and Hyde weekend for Purdue. So it starts in the Sweet 16 on Thursday against Tennessee, and Purdue was leading a lot of the game. They were up by a lot, and then here comes Tennessee roaring back. I believe Purdue was actually up 18 at one point, and then Tennessee forces overtime. Tennessee actually had a chance to win at the end too, but they didn't get it done. But Edwards was key. Klein, Edwards. They got Purdue into the Elite 8. Edwards had 29 points. He hit 5 3-pointers. He also, which I'll say later, set a record, I believe, for the tournament with 28 threes. He is by himself. And this I did not fact check, but I'm almost 100% sure. He dropped 40-plus points twice in the tournament. I don't think anyone's ever done that before in the same tournament. I highly doubt it. I was looking at the figures before. Like, people have scored more points than that, but I don't think that it's taking place in the same tournament twice, like 40-plus. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. But I'm going to say I'm not in this situation. But in the Tennessee game, Klein had 27. He was huge. This guy could not miss. He was unconscious. He was 7 of 10 from 3, 10 for 13 from the field. He got them to the game against Virginia. And then Schofield had 21 for Tennessee. Williams had 21 for Tennessee. Bowden 16, 15 for turnover. Tennessee had a tough loss against Purdue. They had a chance to win it in regulation, being down 18, but they didn't get it done. And they lose 99-94. And like I was saying before, they were the beginning of the end for one of my brackets. although I'll get to more of that later. But I'm going to circle. Let's go with Carson still, because he's the main story that we were talking to. He's our second point. So last night, I really felt for this kid, man. I was like, wow. I mean, Purdue, you guys couldn't box out and get a rebound. It was pathetic. It was embarrassing. Like, all you guys had to do was box out and get 1 or 2 boards, and you guys would have won that game with ease. Mm-hmm. You guys were the better team for the whole game. Edwards was the best player on the floor by far. He was carrying the team by himself. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves for what you made this kid do. Everyone else had single digits. He was the only one who had over single digits. The dude that's 42. He puts the team on his back. He knocks down 10 3-pointers, single-handedly carrying his team. But unfortunately for him, the last stretch was not great ball for him. He threw a pass out of bounds. I think he was trying to hit Klein very late. He missed it. He also had a shot. When they were down 1, he went for a... They were down 1 and he went for 3. I didn't really think he had to do that. Like, I don't like when the teams do that. Like, you're down 1. Why are you shooting a 3? Just go to the basket and try to get something inside. Like,
exactly.
It's higher percentage. I mean, I know Edwards is a great shooter and he could hit that, obviously, and he was hitting it from everywhere yesterday, so I can't criticize it that much, but it just makes more sense to try to go inside, especially at that point. He was dead tired. He played 44 minutes. No one's helping him, so he's literally doing everything. And it's just like he couldn't do it all. I mean, someone else had to help him. I mean, Klein really fell asleep at the wheel. I was talking about how good he was in the other game, but this game he didn't come to play. And he had 7 points, only 2 for 5 from 3, 2 for 7, and that's not good enough. Yeah. You got to have someone else score double digits. I mean, Virginia's a good team. They grind it out, and if you keep them in the game, they're going to beat you. You can't give Virginia another chance, and you give them 1 million offensive boards. All right, I got to look at these stats. I need to see how many boards. Well, they got out-rebounded 38-30. I'm not sure if I can see the exact offensives, unfortunately, but no, I don't think I can right now. But try to take my word for it, it was a ton of offensive rebounds, and Virginia just kept getting them. There was one possession that, maybe even 2 times I saw it, that they got 3 chances on one possession. They got a board, they missed, a board, missed, and then they finally, yeah, of course, the 3rd time, a good team like that is probably going to knock it down. So Purdue got beat up on the boards. That was the difference in the game, and not having anyone to help Edwards. But Carson Edwards, I think, needs to declare for the draft right now, honestly. He has 1 year left, but, when are you ever going to be higher than this? I mean, his stock's so high right now. And you know what? It was a good comparison that was brought up. It was actually 10 years ago yesterday that Davidson and Steph Curry had lost the Elite Eight. And my boy Perez was saying that he's like, guys, I don't know if he's going to get it done because Curry lost in the Elite Eight too, and it was 10 years ago. We were like, oh man, what if he's right? And then he ended up being right. Very similar stuff. I was saying this dude reminds me of Curry, how he's pulling up from anywhere and just drilling these shots. Yeah. I haven't seen anything like that since Curry, honestly, and especially in the tournament. Like, Carson Edwards and Zion Williamson were the best 2 players in this tournament so far, I would say. And they're very close to each other, neck and neck.
Yep.
I'm not. It's hard to say who's been better because Edwards has obviously scored more, but Zion offers more on defense. So It's interesting how you look at it. They're both not there anymore. So let's see how I'll go through what Virginia did as well. But before I transition to UVA, where do you think Edwards could fall in the draft? How high do you think his stock has risen?
Well, you saw him last night. I think a lot of teams are going to really put him on their boards high because last night and this whole tournament, he's been on fire. Last night, I saw this man make shots that when you need a shot, he made it. He had 42 points last night. He was 40.
I mean, he had more than half the team's offense.
Exactly.
They scored 75 to do that 42.
And listen, the one thing he did is he did make a mistake at the end when he did throw a bad pass. However, you know what? I'm going to say this. You know what? I could see him going. I'm going to say, you know what? Top somewhere between 10 and 15.
I think that you're going to see him go where Curry went. I'm going to say he gets picked. I believe, I got to double check this, but let's look at that draft, 2009 NBA draft really quickly. But I know the Knicks had the chance to get Curry, which is why I always remember this, because we were ready to get him right behind the Warriors, sadly. But of course, they picked him, and the rest is history. Yep. We wanted him. Everyone knew we were going to take him if he made it. Unfortunately, okay, here we go. So I'm going to say history repeats itself, and I'm going to say he gets picked 7th. Because that's where Curry got picked.
I could see that, yeah. Top 10, so yeah. I
think 7th. And it'll be interesting to see who gets him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whoever does is going to get a steal. And I'm not saying he's Curry, so don't mismatch my words with that.
No.
Because there's only one Curry, but I'm saying this is the closest thing I've seen to him since. And you know who else is actually in this conversation? Buddy Hields.
But yeah,
He's been playing real good for the Kings, and he was amazing in college, pulling up from anywhere.
Oh, of course, yeah.
He's averaging 21 right now, so he's really stepped up his game. A big piece of the DeMarcus Cousins trade. But anyway, Hield's not really the topic for today. It's just interesting to compare some of these shooters. But the NBA draft will have a lot of draft talk and stuff. The draft lottery is a huge day for me. You see him wearing my Knicks jersey. I'm trying to will Zion to the Knicks. Basketball God's got to do us a favor for once. We've been suffering for years. 1985 is the last time we had the first pick, and it's time for us to get the first pick.
Who would you get with that first pick?
My boy, barely want to say boy, but Patrick Ewing. So yeah, I mean Ewing was a stud, but there's a backstory why I don't like him that people close to me know. But anyway. So that's an interesting thing to look at. Let's try to backtrack the rest of this tournament, and then we'll go through scenarios, maybe where people's brackets stand. Mm-hmm. Or do you want? We could just do the brackets now. I guess we could backtrack. Yeah. Everyone knows what happened, kind of. So we could just go through the scenarios. Let me go to the group quickly. So we have a lot of stuff going on, and you know what's crazy that we hit on before? Only 5 teams. 5 out of 65 people that entered our bracket challenge have their teams left.
Really?
60 people have lost their champions completely after all of this madness. There was 4 people that picked UVA and 1 smart soul that picked Michigan State, and he's looking very smart at this moment. Obviously, Michigan State wins it all. He's winning. And then my buddy Zach wins it all. If Virginia wins, then we also have a scenario with Rich. If Auburn makes the finals and Texas Tech makes the finals, he wins it. So you have a way of 3 different winners, basically. I'm not sure if there's anyone else that can. I'm pretty sure that's it. Because Michigan State makes it and Texas Tech makes it. No, they're playing each other. If Michigan State makes it and Auburn makes it, Rich winning... Actually, no, he wouldn't get it because he doesn't have Michigan State in the finals. So I think Adam might get it at that point if that happened potentially. So there's a lot of different things that could happen. Also, my buddy Chris is in play as well, I believe, to play somewhere. He has Texas Tech in his final, although his Tennessee has been eliminated. So we'll see what ends up happening. A lot of stuff right now. If Virginia wins it, there's 3 people. Also, Justin Marker will be 3rd place if that happens. And there's someone that's... Steve Frazani's friend would also get 4th if UVA somehow won it. He would come all the way up from... He's really low, wow. 620, all the way up. Yeah. But, that's cool stuff. Everyone that I think is in it should know what's going on. They'll see it. They'll get adjusted. I'm pretty sure everything I said is just correct, though, for the most part.
Yeah.
So, congrats to everyone that's in it. You guys have made some crazy picks to get this far. A lot of stuff's happened that we didn't see coming, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
There's only one seed that's in it. Virginia, like we said, is the only team that we expected. Auburn, you know what? We got to talk about Auburn.
Of course.
Because they're next up, and they've earned our praise as well. Let's go through what Auburn's done this tournament. They've knocked off 3 powerhouses, 3 traditional powerhouses in college basketball. The top 4 to 5 teams probably all time in the college basketball rankings they've discarded. So, very impressive run for Auburn.
Auburn, I'm very high on now. They've proven everybody.
Auburn has really should come up to play this tournament. It started with Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Then, like you said, I turned you to pick UNC, but I didn't pick them against UNC myself. You used my advice.
I did. I took your advice and ran with it, and it worked out to perfection. So thank you for that.
I did. I wish I took it more, honestly, but I didn't really take action. But regardless... Oh man, let's go over that game actually, because that's how Auburn started this weekend off, and they started with a bang. They destroyed UNC. That was one of the most stunning events this weekend, because it's not that I didn't think Auburn could win. I thought they were capable of winning the game. It's just that the fact that they won by 17 points against UNC and almost put up a 100 spot really turned my head. That really made me think oh man, this team might be going places.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the balanced attack again. This time there's 6 guys in double figures. Man, this team just gets you from every angle. Brown had 12 points. Oki had 20 points. Dunbar had 13 points. McCormick 10. Dowtry 10. Purified 12. Like, that's, man, what are you supposed to do with all that? It's just crazy, man, like, the way they can get you. And that's why I might be tipping my pick, but I don't think Virginia's going to beat this team.
No.
I think Auburn's going to cover, and I also think Virginia got extremely lucky against Purdue, but that's another story that we also talked about. So I'm trying to look over what happened in this game because there was a lot of crazy stuff. Oh, okay, 3-pointers. Auburn hit 17 threes against UNC. Man, they were wet from the field. 17 of 37, 45%. They just shot UNC straight out of the building.
That's... and it was, I loved every second of it.
Well, at least you got that. I mean, you guys went third in UNC, so you can hang your head on that at least.
I will. I'm going to ride high on this. So, yeah. Auburn.
And you guys, like, didn't get embarrassed. Like, you lost by 1 point.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's not like they killed you. I mean,
I will say, Julian, to talk about Virginia and Auburn,
Virginia's in trouble, right?
Do you mind if I give my pick right now?
Yeah, you can give it.
All right, so...
It's a 5-point spread, by the way, so you're going to say the +5, maybe even money line for you.
Yeah, I'm going with, I am going with Auburn to go to the national championship.
Yeah.
And they're going to cover that spread.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be shocked a little bit later about what I have to say. I'm going to keep it in right now.
Oh, you're going to give me a score prediction later?
I'm going to give you a score prediction.
Okay, so Auburn does that, and then they come back. Yeah, well, today, they played today, so let's go through their game today. Another overtime game. So many overtime games this tournament. I think it's in like 4 or 5 now. I think 5, actually, because Purdue twice, Tennessee twice, but one of those were the same game. Kentucky once, and then Maryland and LSU, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's been 5 overtime games. That's the most I've ever seen in a tournament. So it shows how close a lot of these teams are. It's a game of runs. Like, all these teams play very close. It's hot and cold, but at the end, they always seem to be right there, neck and neck. No matter how crazy the difference is. We've seen 25 points cut. We've seen 18 points cut. Like, no lead is ever safe. That's the moral of the story. Yeah. Like, you better keep your foot on the gas in these Final Four and its final because any team can come back and make a run on you.
Absolutely.
So so Auburn, Kentucky was also a crazy, crazy game.
Yep.
So this looked like back and forth. The first half was all Kentucky. It looked like Auburn had no shot. Mm-hmm. Then Auburn closes the half strong. They were down 5. Then Auburn starts to play well, and it looks like they might take over because Kentucky gets cold. And then it goes the other way. Kentucky starts to get the momentum back, but Auburn grabs it back. Mm-hmm. And the overtime was all Auburn up for the most part. Yeah. At that point, we knew they were probably going to get it done. They took it to them. I believe what was the score at the end of regulation? I'm going to check right now. Okay, so Auburn scored 7. It was 60-60 at the end of regulation. So Auburn scored 17 in overtime. Yeah. It came out guns blazing again. They really got it done. Brown had 24 points. Harper had 26 points. This team, man, and they had 8 points from McLemore. So today was more of a 2-man show, but these 2 guys came to show up because the player also tore his ACL. I got to look up the player. In the previous game, he tore his ACL against UNC, actually. So I'm going to try to see who that was. Oh, Uki, damn, he was a big part of their team. That's a dude that dropped 20. He had 20 points before he tore his ACL.
Jeez.
And they still came back and won without him. So Auburn just shows all the depth they have to absorb that hit.
Yeah.
And I still think that they could absorb it against UVA as you do. So, yeah, so without him, Brown and Harper took over. They did what they had to. And they led the charge. Kentucky, P.J. Washington played a great game. He was the key. He was the MVP. He was the only reason they were still in it.
Yeah.
He kept them alive the whole game. We talked about his injury, how significant it was without him, and you could see how and why he was the best player by far. 28 points, 13 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He was doing everything he could to get the win. The only thing he didn't do well was shoot from the line. Don't have his exact numbers here, but they just weren't pretty. I can tell you that much. I could go for the team numbers. Kentucky was 12 for 21 from the line. Auburn was 18 for 24. So I think that's where the game was won on the stripe. That was a big difference. You're talking about 6 points there, although they got 3 more foul shots, but 75% compared to 57%. Also, the 3 game was 7 for Auburn, which isn't as high as it normally is for them, but was enough because Kentucky only dropped 5 threes.
Right.
So Auburn knocks down Kansas, UNC, Kentucky. What a story for them. Who thought they would have been able to take down all three of those teams?
Yeah,
Only
it's
two
crazy.
people did. In the bracket, two people actually have Auburn in the finals, which is incredible to me. Those are some picks. I mean, hats off, honestly.
It's crazy.
And one of them might get to win if that happens, so we'll see how that goes. But so Auburn is in the Final Four. Now, the other team that's surprising to me in the Final Four is Texas Tech, because they took down two teams I wasn't thinking they could beat either. And also, two notable things about Texas Tech and Auburn, and I'm sure you know this, it's their first appearance in the Final Four. Both of them have never been to the Final Four before. This is foreign territory for them. Virginia hasn't been in it since 1984, I want to say.
Yeah.
Michigan was in it like not too long ago, I believe. Let me check that to see when they were in it. That won't take too long. But it's incredible for Texas Tech and Auburn. The fan bases, the schools have to be so excited.
Yeah, of course.
The first time ever in the Final Four, it's a big step.
Yeah.
This is going to change recruiting and everything for these teams. Like, you can now say we're a Final Four team.
Yeah.
Like, recruits are going to show up. Like, it's credible. And you got to compete with the big guns. So, 2015 was the last time Michigan State made it to the Final Four. So, not too long ago. And 2009 was the last time they made the finals, so can they make it again 10 years later? We'll see.
Yep.
But they didn't win it, they were the runner-up.
Yeah.
So, let's go back to Texas Tech, because that's the only Final Four team we haven't really talked about yet, but they deserve plenty of talking, believe me. So, Thursday they come out and they embarrass Michigan. They completely shut them down. Michigan had 16 points in the first half. It was like watching a high school team play out there. It was embarrassing for Michigan. Well, Texas Tech only had 24, but you could just tell that Michigan was not in that game at all. Like, that was a Tech day the whole time. Michigan was flat. They, at one point, I think under 10 minutes even, they had like 8 or 10 points. Like, it was just not there for them. It was an ugly game, but Tech will take it. They won by 19. Michigan only scored 44 points. Yikes. Tough day to be with Michigan that day. So, Texas Tech dominated. Culver, who I talked about before, needs to earn consideration in this top 5 draft to me. He's a very good player forward. 22 points, 4 assists, and 4 boards that day against Michigan. Moretti had 15 points to help the cause, and then Mooney had 10. So you had 3 guys contribute there. Michigan, I'm not even sure. These stat sheets must have been ugly, but let's see who did the best, I guess. Bacadis at 17 and Matthews at 12. Poole at 8. Yeah, after that, there was nothing. So that was not pretty, like we said. Tech dominated. They took control. So now we fast forward to Saturday when Tech upset my team to win it all. One of my teams, Gonzaga. That was a stunning one to me as well. I thought the Zags were going to handle business. They were looking good. But I underestimated Tech. Culver this day was not very good from the field, but he still scored 19 points with 5 boards and 2 assists. He had 3 steals and a block, so he was contributing in other areas because his offense was a little bit off, but he was still in the game engaged, like making sure he could help the team win, and that's another sign of a good player. You need to be in the game helping the team win. You can't just not be absent when you have a bad shooting night. Like, you have to contribute in other facets. That was the issue with my boy Carmelo. If he had a bad shooting night, he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
It was either like he was going to light it up or he was going to be a liability. There was no in between, unfortunately. But it's now in the days in the NBA, they're shifting away from that type of player. No one wants that type of player anymore. You have to be able to guard athleticism, be a wing player, like guard of multiple positions, like pass, rebound, do it all. Like, no one wants this one-dimensional player anymore. So that's a good sign for Culver. So Gonzaga, we came up a little short, but they had several good efforts despite that. Hachimura had 22 points, 6 boards. Clark had 18 points. Perkins had 16. Norville had 10. Clark also had 12 rebounds. So the Zags played tough. They just got outplayed by Texas Tech. Tech was the better team that day. Gonzaga was up 2 at half, but Texas Tech took it to them in the second half. They took control. So hats off to Texas Tech, because this is something I didn't see coming, that many people didn't see coming. Your sister actually had them in the Final Four, believe it or not. So that was a good pick by her. And a couple people had them Final Four, and then Chris, as we were saying before, had them in the finals. So he might still be able to get something if they pull through.
Right.
So Texas Tech hats off to them. They're in the Final Four against Michigan.
Yep.
And we'll get to that matchup, but I just...
Final Four against, Michigan State. It's okay. It's all right. It's all good. It's all good.
My bad. So, to get to that game, the Zags beat Florida State 72-58. That was a good performance by them. They covered the spread and everything like we had talked about the previous day. In that one, the Zags had... This is Florida State. They had 14 from Perkins, 15 from Clark, Hachimura 17, Norvell 14. So a very well-balanced team. That's why I like the Zags initially, because they had a bunch of guys that could beat you, similar to Auburn. It wasn't a one-man show. And they had 4 guys that were contributing double digits. For Florida State, they really just had 4, scored 20. Other than that, it was a bleak day for them. Then we got to go through how Virginia, Oregon was probably one of the ugliest games I've had to watch. It was like watching paint dry. It was really bad. The second half was ugly, and the first half was ugly too. The second half was even worse somehow. And it was 53-49, very uninspiring on both ends. But Virginia drew Oregon into the trap of playing their game, and once you fall into that trap, you don't beat them.
Nope.
You need to run it up against Virginia. Purdue had the idea going. They were scoring a lot, or Edwards was lighting it up. Like, you got to move Virginia. Like, you don't want them to slow you down. And Oregon tried to beat them at their game, and that did not work at all. The stats won't be pretty, but I'll go through them anyway. Richard had 11 points, but he was 3 for 12 from the field for Oregon. The best guy in Oregon was King. He had 16. White had 10. For Virginia, Guy had 10. Off day for him, but he redeemed himself. Hunter had 11. Jerome had 13. Clark had 12. So nothing too crazy, but it was just enough to get by, honestly. Literally just enough as they won by 3. Then Michigan State beat LSU 80-30 before they played Duke. Just wanted to go through that, but we don't need to go too far into that. That was just a beatdown, basically. Like, LSU had no shot the whole time. And let's see what else we have here. So we went through Thursday already, how we set that up. Friday, I think the only game we didn't touch on. Well, you guys beat Virginia Tech by 2. We could talk about that briefly. That was a crazy tip-in that someone missed at the rim. Maybe Blashier, I want to say, missed a tip-in. It was just off the side of his hands to the left. So that was a cardiac moment for you as well. Crazy tournament for you, like we already talked about a million times. Let me just see who missed that last shot for them. Outlaw misses a 3-point. Oh, Ahmad Hill. There we go. He missed a gimme that should have tied the game. He had 15 for them, though, but he's going to want that one back for the rest of his life. Well, you guys, Zion held this game, too, at 23 and 6, 3 blocks and a steal. Trey Jones really played well through that day as well with 22 points, 8 assists, and 4 boards. RJ was all right with 18 points, but he did have 11 assists, which was key. And he had 4 rebounds, 1 steal, so that was good. And that game, Cam Reddish didn't play, actually, which I think hurt you guys a bit. Now, there's only one game we didn't go through, but it was very interesting. And I was on the other side of it, unfortunately. But Houston and Kentucky was a very good game on Friday. Houston had a couple chances to seal this, but they couldn't get it done. In the first half, it was all Kentucky. They were up 11, but Houston won the second half 32-25. At one point, they had the lead late in the fourth. I believe, okay, let's see when this happened. Yeah, the Cougs were up. All right, yeah, the Cougs were up 58-55 late, and then they fell apart. So they were up. Corey Davis Jr. made a 2-pointer, put them up. Then P.J. Washington made a 2 under a minute for 1 point. Then we had Tyler Hero make a 3-pointer to put them Kentucky up 2, and they were down 1 with 26 seconds left. Then the Cougars missed a layup. Then they got the board. And after that, it was basically history. Tyler Hero knocked down 2 shots, so he was huge for Kentucky. Him and P.J. Washington got that win for them. For Kentucky, P.J. had 16 in his return for 26 minutes. Hero had 19, so those two were the whole game for them. Houston had good performances from White. No, not White, wow. Let me excuse that one. Brooks had 20. Davis had 14, and Gunnar Robinson had 10, but it wasn't enough. That set up their ultimate demise against Auburn. So now, I went through everything, basically. That's all the games that happened. It was a frantic day. Frantic 4 days, actually. A lot of craziness that took place. We talked about Auburn, Virginia already. And I think we could talk about it a touch more. So you want to go through your score for Auburn, Virginia, because you said you had more to say about that game.
No, I said I have for the final thing. I said that's what I said.
Well, you want to okay? You want to end with that? All right. So Texas Tech and Michigan State we haven't talked about yet. I believe when I checked before, the line's not officially out, but I grabbed it on them. Oh, now I see it is. I see 2.5, but it might be closer to 3. Michigan State against Texas Tech, and I've underestimated Tech the whole tournament, but I think Tech this is gonna be it for them. though. I think this is actually it. I'm pretty sure. Like Michigan State, I think is more ready for this. Like I said, Texas Tech has never been to the Final Four before. Izzo and this team hasn't. Although one of them actually was only one dude I think was a 5-year player from Michigan State, so he was technically on the team, probably redshirted, but he was with them at least when they made the Final Four, I guess. But Izzo's a great coach. He'll have them prepared to play. The stage won't be too big for them. Texas Tech, I worry about that a little bit. If they get off to a bad start, it'll be too much to overcome in this spot, maybe. It's not going to be as easy, although I'll say that Michigan and Gonzaga were also big tests, so I'm not saying that Texas Tech can't pull this off. Like, I'm not going to be stunned if they win. I'll be a little surprised, honestly, because I think State is ready for this, and I think the biggest hurdle they just knocked down, honestly, in my opinion, from them winning the championship, so I think Michigan State should cover this one. I would guess they win. I'm going to put this like a 72-65 type deal, something like that.
I'm going with Michigan State to go to the national championship. I think they cover. I think they win. I think Texas Tech, that this magical ride they're on is going to come to an abrupt end. This Cinderella ride they're on, it's when they play Michigan State, the clock's going to hit midnight, and they're going to turn back into the ugly scrubs and the pumpkin. The carriage is going to turn back into a pumpkin and all that. So Michigan State takes care of business. I think they win 80-65.
Wow, you have a higher one than me.
So I think that.
You know what we should do actually? If it's out, why don't we do over unders? Well, 80-65. What does that put us at? Let's think quickly. That would put us at 145, and that would be over in this without you even knowing. So you're going over 133.5. I said 72-65. That puts me slightly over, I believe, like 4 points over. So we're both going to say over to 133.5. So what else would you like to say about the game?
I'm just gonna say, I just think Michigan State's gonna.
It's too much for them.
I think Texas Tech is Michigan State is just a whole nother animal in my opinion.
Okay, well you saw them play today. Obviously,
yep,
I saw it too. You probably watched a little more because it was your team. Obviously, I was going for Yankees a little bit, but I was engaged too. So. Yeah. I agree. I think Michigan State's going to the championship, and I hope they do because in one other bracket I could win if they do, so that would be cool.
I have them going Michigan State Auburn for national championship in my opinion.
Okay,
that's what I think.
You know, I'm gonna agree with you. I think Auburn pulls through. I've liked what I've seen from this team. I sold you, now I'm gonna sell myself. Auburn, like I said, seems even with Oki out. They still have a lot of guys that can get it done. They're going to need the 3-point shooting to be better than it was today because you have to knock down a bunch of threes to take Virginia out. You need to run it up against them, get them moving quickly. You don't want them slowing it down, playing the pace. Now, this over-under is going to be interesting, and I'm curious to what your thoughts and score are now because Virginia's a 5-point favorite, so we're definitely taking Auburn +5 in this situation, both of us. So we agree on the picks. And, the over-under's at 130. This is where it might get interesting. I think it's a tricky number because I would normally say the unders for UVA, and they normally hit 9 times to the 10. But last game, Purdue and them went well over. This one is going to be interesting. I don't have an exact score in my head at this moment.
I'm going to, you know what?
What do you think?
I'm going to go with a 68-66. And I think someone from Auburn makes it. I think someone from Auburn is going to,
okay, hold on. Let me see. Actually, I guess I'll try. Wow.
Is going to,
these pens, man. So 68-66, you're saying?
Yeah.
That puts us through. That would put you slightly over.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's a little less. I'm going to go under here.
Okay.
I think that it's going to be, Virginia's going to come out, they're going to struggle shooting, I'm going to say. I think they're only going to put up 57 points.
Oh, okay.
And I think Auburn's going to get 70.
Okay.
I'm going to say, so it's going to be slightly under, my opinion.
Oh, okay.
I think Auburn wins by more than people expect.
Fair enough.
Yeah, well, I think actually people expect Virginia to win in most situations, so yeah. So that's going to be, so if that's true, we're going to have Auburn playing Michigan State in the final. And Auburn and UVA are the first game on Saturday. They're going to play at 6:09. And then you're going to have Texas Tech and Michigan State play at 8:50. And the Final Four is in Minneapolis. And the 8:50 time actually is not set in stone because they're on the same floor. So that can be very fluent depending on what's going on and how fast or slow the game moves. So we're going to make our predictions for the championship. While we'll do them now for fun if this is the real matchup. But if this is not for some reason,
then we'll
give the prediction of what it ends up being. But regardless of that, we'll still post it on game day.
Yes.
And we're going to provide insight, like probably some summaries on GT or Twitter or something. Like we'll have a couple, maybe a paragraph each or something.
Yeah.
We'll explain our spread pick, our over-unders, maybe keys to the game or something even, because it is a championship, so we'll give you an in-depth analysis of it. And then once it's all said and done, we'll recap it. We'll put a bow on the college season. We'll look forward to the draft a little bit and see what we may think could happen. Although, like I said, the lottery is a key day on May 14th. Knicks, please, Zion, we're waiting. I'm just praying on it, literally. I just want him. But, okay. Anyway, that'll be a talk for another day. So, we got a few minutes left here to wrap this up. But I also want to announce that we're trying to make the transition to the podcast format as well. We're working to get it on Apple soon. That's a work in progress, so we'll keep you posted on how that goes. We're working hard to figure that out. Hopefully within the next week or so. We really want to get that rolling for baseball, basketball playoffs, hockey playoffs potentially. NFL draft is going to be big, which we talked about, but we'll talk about that more as we get closer a little bit. So championship game. We don't have a spread or anything, obviously, because it's a made-up game. It's not real yet.
Yeah, of course.
We think this might happen, but it might not. But I'm actually going to lay out a couple of different scenarios for fun. So let's say UVA beats Auburn and Michigan State wins. Who do you think will win it all?
Between UVA and Michigan State?
Yeah.
I'm going Michigan State.
I agree with you. And then, all right, so let's say...
If it's reversed?
Well, okay, let's say Texas Tech plays Virginia. Who would you say?
I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say this. I think Texas Tech wins on a buzzer beater.
Wow. I would go UVA at that point.
Yeah.
I would definitely take Virginia in that matchup because I think they would slow them down enough. And you saw how ugly they played against Michigan, so I don't know. So now what's the other scenario? Here's the one that we picked. Auburn and Michigan State. So now this is the real talk, basically, of what we think is going to really happen. So, brother, who do you think is going to cut it down if those two play?
So Auburn, I'm very high on, but I'm going to tell you this. I think Tom Izzo is going to have his boys ready, and I think that national championship is going to go to Michigan State. It's going to be a real tough one. It's going to be a
that would be a fun game if they play.
Oh,
that would be must-watch TV to me.
Absolutely.
The ratings wouldn't be as high as if we had the dream matchup of Duke and UNC, obviously, but that'll still get eyeballs, in my opinion. I would definitely take the over that scenario, most likely, because both teams can shoot very well. It'd probably be a high number, but I agree with you. I think Michigan State's destined at this point. They took out their biggest hurdle. You guys were their biggest challenge, I believe. I think no matter who they play, they're going to get the dub, and they're going to cut down the nets. So hopefully I'm right about that. That would be cool. And it's really funny, and it's going to make you laugh. And it's all a fun coincidence for me. The only reason I picked Michigan State is because of Jets got Bell. And then and the bracket name was Bell as a Jet. So I felt like I had to pay homage to Bell and pick Michigan State, and it's got to be this far now. So now I just need 2 more wins. We'll see, man. Thanks, Bell. The gift that keeps on giving. All right, well, that's all we have time for today, I think. But follow us on GT Sports Talk on Instagram. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Follow our Twitter account, which is GT Sports Talk 2. And like I said, we'll keep you posted on future events. You're going to hear from us Tuesday for baseball. That's our next thing we'll be doing. Hopefully recapping a happy Yankees win because the last couple of days have been rough. But we're talking about the Apple Podcast. Follow us, subscribe. sponsor if you feel like that's necessary. Someone should help us out. We're working on it though. We have some ideas.
Yes,
so
we are.
We have some plans. We're gonna upgrade some stuff. Just stay with us. Trust the process, as JoJo would say, because that's something that'll be fun too. But for GNT Sports Talk, I'm Julian Gallardi.
I'm Bobby Thompson.
And we'll see you guys Tuesday for baseball.